All right, this video is about living with SVT, supraventricular tachycardia. Um, my experience with it. Um, so I was first diagnosed. So I was diagnosed with anxiety and a panic disorder when I was 12, seventh grade, however old that is. I'm 33 now. I was diagnosed with it. They said I have anxiety, so they tried me on lots of meds to try and help with my anxiety. And throughout life, it came and gone. It's definitely been an issue for me living with it. I started losing friends from it because I didn't have the I was too scared to go stay the night at a friend's house or go with a friend camping or whatever. So no one really wanted to hang out with me because I was boring. I didn't want to do anything. I started being able to kind of deal with it differently. Like the meds definitely helped, but they didn't really, it never disappeared. It was always there. I mean, I'd get panic attacks very frequently. Just one of those things. So I lived my life with that. In 2000, late 2009. So the anxiety would come and go. Excuse me, sorry, it's kind of going off of memory. Anxiety will come and go throughout my whole life. Some months it would be great, I'd have no issue with it. Some months I would have, panic attack every day. Some weeks I'd probably have 3 or 4 panic attacks a day, throughout the week. But in 2009, late 2009, I started. A huge life change. I got a job. I met Allison, my wife now. We met, and I moved up to another town, and a lot of life change right there. Moving away from home and starting to become an adult. Well, that brought on a lot of anxiety. So I seen a doctor and that just try and help out with it. And when the nurse was doing the vitals and everything like that, she asked me if I knew I had an arrhythmia, and I never even heard the word arrhythmia before. So I told her no, obviously, and she told the doctor that I had it, that she found it. So he came in, he put me on an EKG, and they found arrhythmia. So he wanted me to see a specialist. I seen the specialist. The specialist prescribed me medication, and I was terrified to take it. So let me retrace a little bit. When I was dealing with anxiety in I think 2001, I seen a therapist, and he said, "Oh, you don't have anxiety, you have ADHD," and he put me on Adderall. And I stayed up for 3 nights straight, and I tried to kill myself. I had a knife, and I was standing. I don't even remember it. I had a knife. My sister's boyfriend at the time kind of walked by my room, and he saw me with a knife, and I guess I started pushing it, and he ran up and grabbed the knife out of my hand, and they put me in the back of the car and sandwiched me in so I couldn't get out because I don't know, I guess I was fighting it. And then I ended up in a psychiatric ward for children. I think I was 14 at the time. Medicine, they knew instantly what was going on. The medicine got out of my body. It wasn't affecting me anymore. They let me go. I went home and seen the therapist again. I just wanted to punch him in the face. That was my first reaction to him, and I didn't want to see him, and that was the last time I seen him. So I had a lot of issues with therapists and counselors after that, just because it's kind of a huge fear of mine. So I don't like taking medication. I don't like trying new medication. I have to take medication now, but Well, I guess I don't have to, but to live more of a comfortable life, I have to. So, anyways, I seen a heart specialist, a electrophysiologist, and he prescribed me a beta blocker. And I just heard nothing but bad things about beta blockers. So I think it took me like 2 weeks to actually take the medication. I fell asleep with it in my hand every night because I was terrified of what it was going to make me feel like. And then one night I finally just said, screw it. I took the pill. I fell asleep. Next day I woke up. I did not feel right, but I was told I wasn't going to feel right, trying to get used to them. And after a few days I felt normal again, but I felt like I started gaining a lot of weight. I felt really just not, I'm typically a really hyper person. I just didn't feel right. Like I knew something was, the medication was causing me to calm down a lot, and I didn't like that. Kind of just dulled my personality a little bit. So I was on that for a while, and when I was about to get married to my wife 2 weeks before, the doctor dropped me because my insurance, I had no insurance anymore, no health insurance, and I couldn't see him. I couldn't afford to see him anymore. So he dropped me, and then I couldn't get the medication anymore. So I literally got cut off the beta blocker, cold turkey, and everything. It was fine. I didn't really notice a lot. Like I felt like shit for like 2 days, 3 days off the beta blocker, and I didn't really notice like a lot of withdrawals and stuff from it. So I continued on life, and then and I think I want to say 2000, in 2013 was a really bad year. I was having panic attacks probably for 4 months straight. I mean, I don't even think I went a day without having at least one panic attack. It was bad. I never thought about like suicide or anything like that, but it was really bad. And I ended up finding like a mental health because I had insurance at the time, but it was a bad one. So I know this is sounding more like a anxiety kind of video, but I'll get to it. So I seen mental health, and they actually got me back on track with my life, and like I started to be happy again, and taking a medication, and they told me I have a chemical imbalance. My adrenal glands put out too much adrenaline. I might be completely wrong. This was a long time ago. I'm just going off of memory. And I was fine, and I started doing sports, riding bikes, and I played softball on a company team. And one of the softball games, I went out and just going out for warm up. I was throwing the ball. I wasn't doing anything too strenuous. I stretched a little bit, and out of nowhere, like I felt a weird thing in my chest. And I felt it like more like right here where your clavicles meet, and then I'm like, well, my heart feels like it's racing. So I checked my pulse, and it was just like vibrating, and it was really weird. And I looked down like at my shirt, like right underneath my sternum, and like I could see my shirt vibrating. So I actually rode my motorcycle there, and the guy I was the team manager or whatever, like the head guy, excuse me, he told me, he's like, I'm not gonna I wanted to get on my motorcycle and ride off, and he said, I'm not gonna let you get on your motorcycle and ride off because this is crazy. He's like, I'll call the ambulance. And I'm like, and then like right when he said that, I felt a kick, and then my heart rate just started to drop. I'm like, okay. So it was really weird. It went away. So I'm like, well, I'm just gonna sit and hang out for a little bit, and then the game started, and then I felt fine. So I'm like, I want to play. So I jumped in and played. I actually hit my first home run that night. That's pretty cool. So that was fine. But after that, I started to feel like every now and then, like once or twice a week, I'd feel a kick in my chest. Like I'd feel it right here, and it's just just a thunk, and I didn't know what it was for the longest time. So I didn't really think much of it. And then it started happening more frequently. And I kind of, I didn't see a heart doctor. I didn't even talk to my doctor about it. And they were saying palpitations. So I was like, or what I looked up said palpitations. And it started scaring me after a while. I'd get it, and then I'd get a panic attack. Get a panic attack. But it wouldn't happen so often. So a few years go by, feeling fine again. And then I'm out playing softball again. This time I'm in the outfield. We warmed up. We're playing already. And then I'd run for the ball. And then it just starts to go. My heart just started going crazy again. I'm like, okay, I know what this is like. Well, this time my wife was there. So she gave me a ride to the hospital. It was probably maybe a 5-minute ride. And by the time we got to the hospital, I got out of the car. And then all of a sudden my heart just calmed down. So I'm like, okay. So I still went in and got checked out. They ran blood. They did all the things. And they told me it sounds like supraventricular tachycardia. And I'm like, I never heard that word in my life. Another word I haven't heard. So I kind of continued on with my life. That was the second time. And it was a few years gone by. And then I was, this was 2018. So yeah, a few years go by. It was 2018. I was up in the woods with my wife and my father-in-law and my sister-in-law. We were hunting, and I get to camp, and I'm just kind of walking around with my rifle, kind of outside of camp, just looking for a deer, and just really calm, just walking really slow, really quiet, and then boom, tachycardia again. So I walked over to her, and I was like, because I just, when it's going, I have no energy whatsoever. I walk over to her, I tell her what's going on. We jump in the vehicle, and we just haul ass down the mountain. She's driving, and we made it to a hospital in 30 minutes. It's outside of this town called Quincy in Northern California. And I jumped out of the Jeep, and it stops again. So I'm like, what? Why? Like, that's okay, whatever. I went in there, they did blood tests, did everything, and they said the same thing, said SVT. And I'm like, okay. So it sounds like that's what I have. So I went home, and I started calling doctors, and I actually got in with a cardiologist. And I told him everything I feel, and he says, yes, you're feeling palpitations. He's like, that sounds like what you feel is palpitations. And it sounds like you're having supraventricular tachycardia. So he put me on a calcium blocker. He put me on that. I still got palpitations. Like during this whole time, the palpitations never went away. They're always around. I was getting them. Sometimes I'd go like a week without them. Sometimes I would get them more frequently, and palpitations went away, or they stayed there. And then 2 years later, now 2000 or no. So okay, sorry. So the summer. So yeah, a little bit after that, he sent me to see the same electrophysiologist, and this time I actually had insurance. I went seeing him, and he put me on a 1-month heart monitor, and that thing sucks. Like it just is, you have to carry this box around, and you got these this wires and stuff, and so 1 month heart monitor, and every time I feel something, I'd push a button. And then I could record my voice saying what I felt. And during that time, I felt shortness of breath, palpitations, but I never had a tachycardia episode. So I got it back to him, and he said, he's like, I see palpitations, but I don't see that as a concern. If I found tachycardia on there, or SVT, I'd feel more of a concern. So I never really had real evidence to show him that I have it. And I was really angry. I was like, because I read about the catheter ablation, and I was really angry because I'm like, well, I mean, what do I do? My quality of life is just garbage right now. And so he's like, he basically said sorry, and I left, and I dealt with a lot of palpitations all the time. I continued seeing my regular heart doctor, and he changed my medication to a beta blocker, thinking it would help, and it never helped. Palpitations never went away. So I seen sorry, this is all off memory. So yeah, the palpitations never went away. I dealt with that. Still been dealing with anxiety. Still been dealing with panic attacks. Now I deal with panic attacks are a lot easier to deal with. Now it's just like, oh, I'm having a panic attack. Okay, hold on. Wait a few minutes, and then it's like, okay, feeling better now. Like, it's one of those things you just gotta tell yourself you're not gonna die. So 4 weeks ago, I was out fishing, and I was on my boat, and we were in Lake Oroville, and we went out, and I didn't feel right that day. Something just didn't feel right. Something was in the back of my head, like it was like subconsciously. Now the SVT comes on for like no reason whatsoever, so I can't really say like, oh, that's what I was feeling. But I was out on my boat, and I had we had a great time, me and my buddy, and we caught lots of fish. I caught 49 fish, 49 bass. Well, the last bass I caught, we were at the base of the dam, and we're probably a quarter mile from where we launched the boat. And I caught my 49th bass, and I got it in the boat, grabbed it, and it took a shit all over my hand. I was like, oh, cool. So I squatted down on the side of my boat to wash my hands off, and then tachycardia. And I was like, okay, here we go. So they have different maneuvers, like to say you can put your thumb in your mouth and like blow really hard and then lay back and have somebody lift your legs. So I had my buddy do that. It didn't work. I splashed cold water on my face. Didn't work. So I was like, okay. I'm like, my wife actually happened to be probably about a quarter mile away from me in her dad's boat with her dad. And so I told my buddy Corey, I'm like, hey, let's start driving back to the boat launch. I gotta get this figured out. So I was going, and I thought, I'm like, I should probably call 911. Maybe if I don't convert myself, because I know, lots of people went with tachycardia for supraventricular tachycardia for a couple hours in it. So I mean, it's not, your heart's very strong muscle. It's just, you don't want to be stuck in it for a long time, because you don't want to get it so often, because it does eventually wear out your heart, and you could end up dying from a weak heart later in life. So we get to, I called it 911, told them what's going on, and we get my buddy Corey drove me to the boat launch, and I just basically kind of laid on the dock. And at this time, I was kind of like, okay, this is the longest I've been in it at this point, and I'm like, okay, it's kind of annoying now. So finally, I hear the ambulance. They come across the dam. They get down to me. They check my vitals, and he couldn't get a reading on it. My heart rate was going too fast, so they had me get up, walk off the dock. So I get an ambulance, and the only thing that's going through my mind really is, how's my boat gonna get home? Because Corey, he can't drive, and my wife's not used to driving with a trailer and stuff. So I was like, that's the only thing I was going through my mind. So I get in the ambulance, and it's still going, and I was like trying to move slow, because I did not want to get out of it. I wanted them to catch it on an EKG. So she caught it, and my heart rate was at 225 BPM, and so they had me start doing maneuvers, in there. They had a little syringe and they had me blowing it, trying to push it out. And every time I started to blow, at this point, I was getting really lightheaded. My jaw hurt pretty bad. My left side hurt pretty bad. So I'm laying in there, and I'm just, anxiety is not even a thing. Like I wasn't feeling like anxiety. I was just feeling like this is just feeling like crap, really. So they, she wanted to do give me a dentazine. I think that's what it's called, and it reboots your heart. They shoot it through an IV. Well, they did it, and that was the worst thing in the world. Like it felt like my whole body was tense. Like she said, it stops your heart to restart it. And it's a very fast acting drug. I got it, tensed up, and then it like, it's not that it hurt, but it I don't know. It's a weird feeling. I can't explain it. And then it didn't convert. My heart did not convert. So she told me, okay, we're going to try this again. If this doesn't work, then we're going to have to put you on anesthesia or whatever, knock me out, and then zap my heart back into place, back in the rhythm. So I'm like, okay, well, let's get this going again. So she gave it to me again, and it converted this time. And the only thing I think about is like, I got this piece of paper now saying what my heart rate was at, and so I could show the cardiologist. So I go to the hospital, they do my vitals, everything was fine, they let me go home. I am a chewer, chew tobacco. I am now off of tobacco. I'm on the Zen pouches, but I am taking nicotine. It's a long battle, but so I guarantee that contributes to it. So if you do deal with SVT, try and quit that. Caffeine, I don't drink. I haven't had caffeine in 10 years, almost 11 years. I haven't had any caffeine. Maybe like a sip of something that had caffeine in it, just like, but like to get my, my mouth is dry or something. But not really like caffeine beverage. I get chocolate. I had chocolate, yeah, but that's not like, a lot. But anyways, finally go to the doctor. Then I call my heart doctor. He says, we need to get you back in an electrophysiologist. And while I'm on, during this COVID thing, it's all me looking at my phone, talking to my doctor. And he just picks up his phone and he calls electrophysiologist and he says, hey, you need to get him in. And so I go in there. First I went over to the hospital and I got all my paperwork from that day. No, step back again. Sorry. So 2 days later after that tachycardia, I was in my garage and I was building a fishing rod, and I just had it up, looking at it to make sure everything was straight. And then I went into tachycardia again. I got in my vehicle, or my wife went to take me to the hospital, and it went away probably like, I think I had it for maybe 5 minutes. So yeah, that happened again. So that was like the fifth or sixth time I had it in my life. Anyways, I finally get to see the cardiologist. I give him a piece of paper, and he told me that's my ticket to get the catheter ablation. And like I wanted to cry. Like I've been wanting this for a long time because I haven't dealt with like tachycardia itself like a lot. Like I said, 5 times in my life, but everything else I've been dealing with, like the arrhythmia, the palpitations, the fear of getting tachycardia. The fear alone stops you from doing a lot, because I want to go up into the woods and I want to go hunting. I want to go ride my mountain bike. I want to go far away. I want to go do stuff, adventure. I want to get back in the gym and lose weight. So, it kind of like, it's been really 10 years since I had to kind of limit myself on what I do. And that's 10 years is a long time. So he says you'll be hearing from us soon. And literally, I think 5 days later, they called me and said, "Can you make it? Can you be at the hospital in 1 week for the procedure?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." So tomorrow morning at 5 a.m., I go in for the catheter ablation. I don't know what time it is right now. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's 9:27. So at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, I have to be at Inlow Hospital for the catheter ablation. Am I nervous? Yeah. I mean, anything could happen. But I think the excitement of like, I'm more nervous that um, it won't be successful. I'm not nervous. I mean, of course, I'm nervous for something to go wrong, but I can't really say like that's my nerve. I'm more nervous of them not being successful with it. I'm nervous that they're not going to be able to find it and target the areas. But I am very excited at the same point that like if they do target it, I mean that my life's going to be changed. I'm going to be able to get back and doing everything that I love to do. So that's my story with supraventricular tachycardia and anxiety and panic attacks, I guess. Sorry this video is over 25 minutes long. But yeah, thanks for watching it.